Who doesn't procrastinate? If you are a person who never procrastinates, good for you. I have a gold star with your name on it. If you are someone who always gets to work on your task on time and you do not allow yourself to get distracted, this is probably not going to be the podcast for you. On the other hand, if you're like me and many people around the world and find that you procrastinate from time to time, listen up. I'm going to give you some fun tips for how to boost your confidence by kicking procrastination to the curb. By the end of today's episode, you will have a few tricks up your sleeve to help build your confidence by helping you recognize when you are procrastinating and overcome it when it's getting in the way. Wouldn't it be great to tackle your to-do list, feel good about getting it done, and have some free time on your hands? Well, I can't guarantee your free time, but I can guarantee you will feel more accomplished and confident every time you choose not to procrastinate and get things done. Grab your pen and paper. You know the drill. You will want to write these things down. Let's go. Are you ready to feel less stressed, overwhelmed, and anxious? Do you wish you could be crazy confident in your ability to take on life's challenges? The Crazy Confidence Coach podcast is the go-to podcast for understanding and building self-esteem and confidence. You may be surprised how easy it is to make small life changes that add up to give you more confidence and create big results. If you have fear, anxiety, or overwhelm, that's okay, because we will talk about how you can stop letting it hold you back. Every person I know has struggled with confidence in some area of life. What area of life do you know you need to build more confidence? I promise you are not alone. I'm here to help you bridge that gap between who you are and who you want to be. Don't miss a single episode. You never know when a tip or trick that is shared will be your next big breakthrough. Welcome to the Crazy Confidence Coach podcast. This is episode 32. Boost your confidence, recognizing and overcoming procrastination. A little over a mile from our home is a great little place called the Soda Shop. It's one of my favorite places in town to grab a cup of coffee and catch up with some of the locals. When I'm having a tough day or simply procrastinating what I need to do, I can find myself at the counter ordering an iced mocha with oat milk and whipped cream on top. When my husband goes into the shop, he can tell them he's in there ordering for me and they know exactly what to make. I love it. The funny part of all of this is when I go into the shop because I'm avoiding something I know I need to do, I always come face to face with a sign they have up that says, "I have not yet begun to procrastinate." The first time I saw the sign, I literally had to giggle to myself a little. There was this moment that I busted myself, as if the sign was placed carefully on the shelf behind the register, so my avoiding little self would be reminded I have things to do. So I grab my mocha and I head back home to tackle that which I don't want to name. What is the thing that you often do when you are avoiding, or in coach speak, we call it buffering? You know, that little circle that goes around and round on your computer or your TV when the internet's going out. The buffering sign. That's exactly what's happening when you're avoiding or you're procrastinating. You're doing nothing. What do you do when you're trying your very best not to do what you know you need to do? In other words, what types of activities do you use to buffer or avoid? Once you identify the activity, it's easier to bust yourself in the action, just like me. Know that your brain loves to keep you comfortable. It loves to guard you from all the things that it perceives to be harmful or make you uncomfortable. This can look like having fear of failure, not being motivated, perfectionism, which is my special favorite, overwhelm, and instant gratification, just to name a few. Each of these can create a perfect environment for your brain to find something else to focus on in the form of procrastination. I work with clients to help figure out what their triggers are and create a plan to deal with the trigger. Think about your triggers. Are your triggers perfectionism? That's my big trigger. In that case, you might avoid tasks that are new or tasks that you haven't learned to do very well yet, or maybe tasks that you're just not good at. Even a task that isn't hard, your brain tricks you into believing that you aren't good enough to complete it. Although we won't go into detail about all the reasons you may procrastinate, let's look at how to recognize it and get a few quick tips on how to overcome it. To recognize procrastination, you have to be honest and open with yourself. You must be willing to be an observer of your own mind and your own behavior. With time and with practice, this is fun and rewarding, promise, because it's one of the most helpful skills you can have if you want to improve your life. Here are some signs to look for to help you recognize procrastination. Feeling stuck or overwhelmed. Delaying or avoiding tasks, especially waiting for the perfect time to start the task. Making excuses. Feeling guilty or anxious. And focusing on small, insignificant tasks. My small, insignificant tasks generally revolve around making things more organized or making things pretty, which doesn't really matter. So, as I mentioned before, you must be willing and to be honest with yourself. Each person has different behaviors, and not everyone will be procrastinating with the same one. Pay attention to your behavior and create a plan to prevent yourself from getting stuck in that pattern. Once you notice what you're doing, you can break that pattern. If you feel you might have a problem with procrastination, start taking notes on the task you are performing during the day. How are you feeling when you're doing that task? And what is the action that you take based on the feeling that you're having? You might see some patterns emerge. Please, please, please do not shame yourself or engage in critical self-talk when this happens because you're procrastinating. This will only make things worse and it just doesn't improve anything. So take some time to be curious about your why. Why are you uncomfortable? Why are you procrastinating? What is the reason you aren't keen on doing what you're supposed to be doing right now? Here are a few ways you can help your brain move along when you're avoiding or you're procrastinating. First, create the best environment for completing the task. Start with a clean desk. Make sure you have all the tools needed to complete the task, any guidelines or instructions that you need, and a rested and caffeinated you. If you don't like caffeine, don't add in the caffeine. Number 2, make a list of the steps it's going to take to complete the project or the task. Prioritize each step and give each step a deadline. So you're breaking it down into doable actions, but make sure you have a goal in mind. Write out an affirmative statement. I'll complete the first step by the end of the workday on Monday, or I will complete this step in the next hour before I go to lunch, something like that. It just needs to be specific and measurable. The third thing, use positive reinforcement. Engage your brain by using a checklist and check off each step as you complete it. As I've talked about before, your brain associates this check mark as success. Add an additional reward system for yourself if you need it. If that check mark isn't enough, use something else like a walk around the block, a coffee, or a snack. Depending on the project, you could schedule a massage or a pedicure. Make it kind of in line with the degree of how difficult the project is. One last great tip is to engage a friend or coworker as an accountability partner. Being able to report your success on your project each day or each week is extremely helpful. By engaging in conversations or activities with accountability, it helps you be much more productive. One study that was published in the American Society of Training and Development found that individuals who shared, quote unquote, their goals with a friend were 33% more likely to achieve them. So, share away, find an accountability partner. Look, one of the most compelling reasons that we have to stop procrastinating is how it impacts our confidence. When we procrastinate, we increase our self-doubt, our stress, our anxiety, and our negative self-talk. It ultimately impacts our performance, and it leads to missed opportunities for personal growth. If you have a passion for personal growth like I do, you realize how detrimental procrastination can be. Do we have to be perfect and always ready to do whatever it is on our to-do list? No, not necessarily. It is helpful and useful to be self-aware of our brain's ability to trick us into being distracted and self-gratifying at the expense of our goals and ultimately of our dreams for ourselves. So if you are a practiced procrastinator, no worries. This is your sign that you don't have to practice procrastination anymore. Start little by little identifying the tricky ways you get distracted and practice doing what you need to do instead of allowing yourself to fall prey to procrastination. Let me tell you, if I can do it, so can you. Thank you so much for joining me. Would you do me a huge favor? Will you share this podcast with 3 people you think might find the podcast helpful? To be totally honest, I have yet to meet one person who doesn't have at least one area of their life that couldn't use a crazy confidence boost. Hey, if you want to fast track your crazy confidence journey, let's hop on a call and figure out what's holding you back. Maybe you are struggling with feeling overwhelmed or feeling like you aren't enough. Do you want a big raise and don't know how to ask for it? Or are you just tired of feeling insecure with friends or your spouse? Whatever you're struggling with, I can help you. Go to www.thecrazyconfidencecoach.com to schedule your free discovery call today. Hope to see you here next week. Love you big.